Hello fellow swappers, we're back with another video and I've heard your suggestions. Today we've got Stockwell beans and pork sausages. Now these are only 58p, so I'm not holding out much hope that you actually get much meat in it, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these are just as good as Heinz or Branston. Maybe I'll make the switch. After all, the Heinz ones, they're about £2. Get 4 tins of these for the same price then. So, who's up for trying them? I suppose I have to have a level opinion to start with, and then I have to figure out whether or not they actually do tickle my taste buds. Like people have said on my previous video, there's no point going into it thinking that I'm not going to like them. So let's flip it on its head. I'm going to go in and I'm going to objectively think about what the food is that I'm eating and whether or not it actually tastes nice. Does that make sense? Right, let's give it a try. So let's have a look. Half a can, 209 calories, 5.1 grams of fat, 1.8 of saturates, 9.3 grams of sugar, quite a fair bit there, and 1 gram of salt, give or take. So these are baked beans and pork sausages in a tomato sauce. Now you can tell it's cheap because there's no ring pull, so I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Now, a bit similar to the meatballs, you'd basically just have to heat them through. So, the similar kind of slop, but at least you get the kind of river of baked beans that come out of them. It's pretty much the mold. So, I'm going to give these a cook for a couple of minutes and see what they're like. So, I've given the tin a rinse. Should have dried it first. But basically, you get 405 grams. And from what I can tell, they're just like Branston or Heinz. The only difference, I suppose, is that you're looking at how much percent of beans you have compared to how much sausage, and then how much meat is actually in the sausage. But here's my honest opinion about these kind of products. If you're eating these kind of products, you really don't care how much actual meat is in your product, because you wouldn't be eating this processed food anyway. If you are eating this processed food, then it's either because you like it or you're on a budget, which is also fine. But I'm trying to understand, if you are on a budget, should you therefore switch to a cheaper version, which is the Stockwell, or should you actually stick with the Heinz, which again is about £2? Now, in this you get 37% beans. Now they're haricot beans. I haven't done much research in terms of beans, but I'd assume they're all the same. You guys will be able to tell me in the comments. And get 15% pork sausage. That's basically it. The rest of it is essentially just all your preservatives and everything else. But it is made using British and EU pork. I don't know about you, EU pork could mean anything. It could be made anywhere in Europe, which is a bit weird, you know. So you get the British pork, fantastic if you care about that kind of thing, but then you just get some random pork as well. I wonder why they don't supply it just as one country, you know, importing it. Maybe there's a lack of the meat, but you wouldn't expect that. Again, maybe you food buffs in the comments will know. But either way, this isn't the healthiest of foods, but I'm going to give it my own subjective opinion, but I'm going to be fair and reasonable this time. I'm not just going to kind of chew it and go, oh, that's disgusting. I'm going to actually see whether or not the average food palate in the UK would tolerate this compared to Heinz or, again, the Branston variant. And to me personally, if you like the flavour of these, then it doesn't really matter how good Branston or Heinz are, because the idea of this series is that you're trying to buy foods and swap to foods that are much cheaper and you actually enjoy. If I was to do a taste test compared to Branston and the cheap Stockwell, then I assume, without tasting these yet, that Branston would win, and therefore if I like both of them, I'd surely then go with the Branston because, you know, I like those and they're my subjective flavours that I really enjoy. But the Stockwell ones, if they're good, it doesn't really matter, because if it's good enough. Again, if it's processed foods, really, there isn't really much difference. Unless you're having actual proper sausages, like from a butcher's, and then you're having some baked beans or something like for a fry-up, then you maybe care about your meat quality. This, not so much. But they're about ready, so I'm going to get them into the bowl. Okay, it's time to dish them up. So, just, you know, just looks like any other beans and sausage that you'd have, to be fair. Right, let's have a look. So you do get quite a lot. This is, again, technically, I suppose, for 2 people. That's usually what the serving sizes are about. But how many sausages do you get? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you get about 9 sausages. I think in Branston and Heinz you usually get 10. I may be mistaken, but to be fair, it does smell actually quite nice. So, taste test time. Right, so for the record, I've never tried the Stockwell beans and sausage before. So I've no idea whether or not these are awful and taste like dog food, or whether or not they're actually pretty good. Now, the eagle-eyed viewers amongst you will realise that I don't have any toast. I can't be bothered with toast, and I think it's more that you want to know whether or not you enjoy this food. So, first sense is obviously going to be smell. So they do smell just like any other tins of beans. I think the only tin of beans that I think smells particularly different is Branston usually. It's something about it is just a deeper flavour that you can smell, quite rich. Everything else just smells sweet, but does smell good. So, value for money, so far so good. If it smells good, the beans just look like any other beans. So I'm going to try just the beans first. Yeah, they're good. They're very soft, very squishy, and you'd expect that. You know, I haven't warmed it through excessively, so it's not like I've softened them. They're just nice and squishy. And remember, these are haricot beans. I'll have to double check whether or not everything else is haricot as well. Do you know what? Those are really nice. So the tomato sauce is actually quite rich. You'd expect it to be really cheap and watery. But actually it's not. It's quite thick. And it's full of flavour. It's not like a cheap soup where you can't really taste anything. It's nice and salty as well. Well, there should be, because I think there's about a gram of salt per half tin. You do actually get a nice rich tomato flavour to it. Again, it's not like it's just water, which is really good. Okay, so I'm going to try sausage. I'm going to try half a sausage first. So you cut into them, and they do look very pink on the inside. You probably won't be able to see this on camera, but they do look very pink. Now, as far as I know, they'll be safe to eat. It doesn't say that you have to cook them for a certain amount of time, just as warm through. So I'm trusting that these are safe to eat. However, this type of sausage meat is generally the type of sausage meat that you find in sausage rolls. And you know, sometimes they even look a little bit pink, but you know that they're safe to eat. Well, they should be. So, taste test. Remember, I haven't had these before. Okay, so first instinct, very, very soft, very, very squishy again. I think if I was to try these with the beans, then it'd be very, very squishy in terms of texture. But I think that's what you want, especially if you have this on some nice crispy white bread that you've toasted. I think this would be really good, especially some fresh bread. I think actually that would work really well. But let's try the sausage with the beans. Do you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, actually. That's really good. Let's try it again. So, there isn't an awful lot of flavour to the sausage. However, here's my argument. If you have Heinz or Branston beans and sausage, to me the sausage tastes exactly the same. I think that the Branston one has a little bit more texture to it. It's more like a little cocktail sausage, but not with the skin, if that makes sense. These are just like the Heinz ones, to be fair. I don't really see much difference. I mean, if you were to look closely at them, you can probably tell there's a little bit of a quality difference, of course, which you'd expect for the huge price jump. But no, these are perfectly edible. Again, there isn't really a lot of flavour. I imagine if you added quite a bit of salt and pepper, and obviously some nice buttered toast, I think this would go really well. Again, I went into this thinking I actually am going to like it. And there'll be some of you amongst you that won't like processed food at all. You know, the idea of eating this is absolutely horrific, which I get that. But if you're used to eating beans and sausage already, and you're thinking of changing, don't be one of these food snobs that goes in and just sees the brand and you've got brand loyalty. That's how they drive you in. Have you ever noticed that randomly, the tins of beans and things will randomly just have like 50p off. Like, how can they just have 50p off? Because they're just hiking up the prices to get huge margins, more profit, exactly the same product. Tesco can do these for 58p. Think about how cheaply they're making it, because they've got to make a margin on that. So if you can make it for that cheap, and then Heinz are selling it for what, £2 a tin? This is a no-brainer. They are really good. I still think personally that I would have the Branston ones. It's simply due to it, there's a slightly different texture with the Branston ones. Can't quite put my finger on it, but it is there, slightly. But yeah, I'm going to finish off the rest. Probably should have got some toast, that would have been a better idea. But Swapper Shoppers, I really appreciate you liking, commenting, subscribing, all of those good things. We're on the route to 1,000 subscribers. On the route? On the road. You know what I mean. Loads of you are subscribing at the minute, and I absolutely love it. If you like this type of content, please do subscribe, because you'll get all the videos straight to your inbox on your subscription page. And also, just share it with your friends and family. What do they think about this? Have they ever tried Stockwell beans and sausage? Show them this video before you next go to the supermarket, and then buy them a tin of them and see if they can taste the difference. If they can't, I think you've saved yourself an awful lot of money. But until then, Swapper Shoppers, ciao. Oh, that's good stuff.